Hi everyone, I'm Nick. Today we're going to talk about, is oversupply necessarily a bad thing? Because we all know that in the River Valley area, we're going to see a lot of new launches launching in the second half of 2025. Is this a good thing? Is that something that we should avoid? Or is there an opportunity that we probably don't know it yet? So today I'm going to go through everything about it. So do stay tuned to the end of the video to understand better. If you are new to this channel, my name is Nicholas. I go through a lot of property analysis. I also share my personal strategies of my own sale and purchase journey. In fact, I just sold and purchased my own properties this year. So I think definitely you can take away a lot from my own personal stories. So please consider subscribing. It will really help my channel grow. So when was the last time we had a situation where there's a lot of supply within the same area? And that was Lentor. Lentor, if you see right over here, Lentor Modern, this was the first one that was launched in this area, followed by Lentor Hills, Hillock, and then I believe it was Lentor Mansion. Then Lentor Central, which was the one that I purchased, was number 6. And upcoming still many more supply. But the good thing about this area is that only one developer is the key developers of all these land plots, which was Hong Leong and Goko. So they could control the prices in that sense because they will know how much they're going to launch and how much they should sell. So in that sense, the information is a bit more clear on their end. They have more perfect information in that sense. Only Hillock Green is not by the same developer. So I want to bring you back to 2022. To understand Lentor, we need to understand what happened before Lentor rejuvenation happened. So Amo Residence, this was in 2022 near Mayflower MRT station. Is probably like a short, I think 5 minutes walk, probably will be able to reach Mayflower MRT. And this was in May 2022. They sold super well. They sold 98% in the launch weekend because I think there's pent-up demand in this area. There are no new launches. So let me ask you, if you are a developer for Lentor Modern, as I mentioned just now, you are going to be an integrated development. You have a shopping mall element and your doorstep. You're on top of Lentor MRT and you're one stop away from Mayflower MRT station. How much will you sell? Because let me show you, Amo has already achieved 2003. Don't you think you probably want to sell 2001, 2002, at most 2000? But what we see right here is that July 2022, they were done 2003, right? Lentor Modern, they launched at 2008. So why is this the case? It's because the developers, they themselves know that, wow, upcoming, so many supply over here, I need to sell cheaper. I need to sell reasonably. If not, I can't sell. I have that fear. So therefore, I want to be realistic. I start from 2008. And I think this is a very, very good price. Up to 469 PSF, cheaper. Then, after they start selling, right, one day they will sell until the last few units. They will probably want to sell at a higher price one because they need to make money eventually, isn't it? So one day they will also achieve 2003 because why? Easy ma, Amo achieved 2003. Right now I'm integrated development. Yes, I'm one stop away, but I'm integrated, a premium. So eventually someone also feel that it makes sense to pay 2003 and they bought from developer at 2003. So this was in May 2023. But what we see right here is Lentor Hills. Before you see the figures right here, I want to ask you, if you are Lentor Hills developer, technically the same developer, you see that Lentor Modern sold 2003. How much will you sell? You're just directly opposite the road. Maybe 2001, 2002, 2000. But no, Lentor Hills, they are much more sensitive in terms of prices. They launched at 2008 once again. And that's about more than 500 PSF cheaper. Simply because they know they have a lot of competition. If they don't sell cheap, they won't be able to move stock. So interestingly, Lentor Modern was the first one, Lentor Hills second, and then Hillock Green. And we see a common trend. We see that they launched at 1008 PSF. Eventually, they will sell 2004 plus PSF. And that's easily a 599 PSF gain for Lentor Modern. Lentor Hills, once again, starts selling at 1008 plus PSF. Eventually, also sold 2200 plus PSF. That's about 437 PSF gain. Hillock Green also sold starting from 1009 PSF and up to 413 PSF gain, simply because they have stress, but they also know that if I can't sell, finish my last few units, it's okay. I'm going to increase price because at that time I have holding power already. So the people who enter day one, even if you enter Lentor Hills or Hillock Green, it's like rewinding time. I made a video about this for Lentor Central that time. It's like you have to go back to day one prices and buy again. And you know that there's proven track record that in that area, people have already paid 2003, 2004. But right now, developer give you a chance, 2008, 2009. Do you want to buy? And those people who bought it, they will be able to benefit. So how do someone like that benefit? Because eventually when you want to sell, a potential buyer will come in. The most important thing in resale market is bank valuation. Can the bank value this at 2004 PSF? They can, because for example, Lentor Modern done 2004 PSF. So the bank will at least match the last done or even higher. Will a buyer be willing to pay 2004 PSF? Likely, because they see that developer has done at this amount, someone has already accepted at this price, they feel convinced that, okay, this is a reasonable amount to sell 2004. But let's say you're someone who is more realistic, you just want to sell faster, and if you're at 2004, not many people are coming to view, can you sell cheaper at 2002, 2003? You bought at 2008. Potentially you can. And that right there, my friend, is a lot of built-in profits simply because the developer has pushed up prices for you. But importantly, we need to enter day one. Because if you enter at the later part, if you're this person who entered 2004, then likely you need to hold for very long. If not, it's very difficult for you to exit with a decent amount of profits. So that's how in the oversupply area, we are able to ride the wave to benefit. But is it always the case where upcoming new launch beside it will definitely sell much cheaper, just like in Lentor? So today we want to look into Lakeside. Lake Garden was first launched, followed by Sora. We want to understand Sora, did they really sell much cheaper or not? So Lake Garden, last done May 2024 at that time, 2,300 plus PSF. But Sora, we see that in July, 2 months later, they are only sold $127 PSF cheaper. Not like $400 PSF cheaper. Why is it the case? Because in Lakeside area, as you can see, there is no supply. The developers feel no stress. I got no competition. I don't need to stress. I got holding power. Because eventually, if the whole of Singapore has really climbed, then I can sell, definitely. So that's why they are very sticky in terms of prices. They have the holding power. But as a buyer, what happens to us? If you enter at this price, then of course you need to pay at a higher price. But for Lentor, places like Lentor with oversupply, you can enter super cheap. You can enter day one prices. Isn't that a better deal? So today, we all know that we have the River Valley 5 land plots upcoming. River Green, Promenade Peak, Grand Zion, Robertson Opus, all these developments. Is it going to be an opportunity? And I think definitely it is. Why? Because I just showed you all of that. And one more key thing is that all these developers are different. Let me ask you, if you have all the land plots, do you have information of all the prices that you're going to launch? Can you decide all the prices that you're going to launch? Can you decide whether do you want to sabotage yourself or not? You can, right? But today, if you are one of these 4 to 5 developers doing all these land plots, how will you be feeling? Will you have information of how much your neighbor is going to sell at? You don't have until when they are ready to release the information. Is this going to be stressful? If you sell too high, potentially your neighbor sell cheaper, you can't sell, you're stuck. And you don't have all this information until you release the information. But if you start selling at a certain high price and you sold like maybe 10%, and your neighbor started selling much cheaper than you, and suddenly you found yourself stuck, and then you think to yourself, then should I drop price or not? But you realize that if you drop price, that will harm your reputation. That will hurt your long-term game plan in this development business. Will you want to do that? You realize that you are really, really very stuck. That's why developers will want to make sure from the get-go, from the start date, they need to launch at a very attractive price to get the market share so that eventually, when they got certain sales target met, they can slowly increase price and benefit together. And that's where you, my friend, will also stand to benefit if you enter during the day one. But the also good news thing is, right, if let's say you miss the first balloting, or rather, first balloting you went in, the queue number is not good. Likely the second land plot, you might be able to get day one prices because we just saw from Lentor, the prices goes back to day one prices. I mean, that was from one developer, but right now, maybe there are different developers, maybe they're even more stressed. Likely, you can also see that kind of phenomenon. So I think the interesting thing is we don't need to be so stressed because why? Developers are more stressed than us. That's number one. Number two, if our balloting number is not great, then it's okay lah. We wait for next one. Because the location is about the same, the prices will be about the same. The floor plan, because now with harmonization, is about the same. Then I think, hey, not bad leh. If my queue is not great, I simply just wait for the next one, then I take action then and then at a good price. So we have lots of power in that sense. The next thing I want to understand is, how is the price gap of District 9 compared from now and in 2017? And just nice was the year that I entered the industry. So Martin Modern was the new launch back then in River Valley, and we want to compare from RCR and OCR areas. So Martin Modern with Gem Residence Toa Payoh area, the gap between River Valley and Toa Payoh, 34%. The gap between Martin Modern and Clement Canopy, which is in Clementi, is about 50% gap. The gap between River Valley and Tanah Merah, which is Grandeur Park, 59%, about 60% gap. Gap between River Valley and Siglap, which is Seaside Residence, 46% gap. That makes sense because why? River Valley, after all, is a very prime area, CCR. There should be this kind of gap. And that's what we see in 2017. But let's look into today, District 9. The latest launch will be the Collective at One Sophia. And I wanted to understand, in today's terms, what is the gap between us and the respective few areas that I just mentioned. So firstly, Emerald Katong, that's in D15. The gap, actually, guys, Emerald Katong sold 1.81% higher than the Collective at One Sophia. So D15 sold higher than D9, number one. Number two, I mean, probably you think that, okay, D15 quite atas, I think it's quite a good area, it's comparable to CCR, sure. Next, Toa Payoh. Toa Payoh, 0.18% higher than the Collective at One Sophia. Does it make sense? I mean, Toa Payoh is a good location. A lot of people stay, there's a lot of HDB upgraders there, a lot of amenities. I love it. But if you think about it logically, Toa Payoh is still deemed as RCR. Does it make sense? Think about it. Alta, Clementi, the gap now is only 9.31%. Parktown Residence, Tampines, and this is also a very new part of Tampines, the gap is 14%. Grandeur Park, the gap used to be 59% over here. Now that 59%, you go even further from Tanah Merah to Tampines, it has dropped 14%. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you, does this make sense or not? Or does it mean that right now CCR is super, super cheap? You got to think about it. Because in my opinion, I think, wow, this is probably once in a lifetime opportunity that, if I had the budget to buy a RCR, OCR projects, likely I have the budget to buy CCR now. Should I think about it? Is this a good thing? Is this an opportunity that I should take on? Because it may not happen again. And lastly, we need to understand, if we don't take action, what will happen? We all know that the Bayshore GLS, they have already sold 138 PSF in Bayshore. That is in the east. Do you think that it makes sense to buy Bayshore more expensive than Zion, 1,002, 1,003, which is a lower land bid price than Bayshore Dundee? I want to ask you that. Because why? Land bid is always the most expensive consideration in terms of the cost from the developers. If today they bought at 138, this is the number one most expensive thing. And it's already higher than what developers bought in Zion Road. Can they sell cheaper than Zion Road or not? Maybe not. But Zion Road, of course, they may not sell cheap. But in today's context where there's so much competition and with the seller stamp duty tweak, I do think they have to be very, very sensitive. And potentially, we wait 1 year later, when this is launched, prices probably will have already climbed up because the economy, the market has already recovered, corrected. People may be able to accept at a higher price of 2,728 also for Bayshore. Then by then, I want to ask you, does it make more sense to pay 2,728 Bayshore or 2,728 in Zion Road? You have to make a decision because I don't think it makes sense to pay the same amount or more expensive in Bayshore. Another piece of news would be CDL bought Lakeside at 1,132 PSF. Of course, this is lower, but it's very close to our 1,002 PSF done deal in one of the land passes in Zion Road also. Only $100, $200 difference. And this is Lakeside versus River Valley area. Does this make sense? So that's why I do think that right now we have a very small window opportunity for you to take action. If you're in a position to take action, honestly, this is a very good chance for you to get a very good price, a good unit, and really a very good deal. That's my honest opinion. Yeah. So if not, I wish you will take the opportunity to enter in the River Valley new launches, and I'll see you in the next one.